a problem that the previous government had chickened out, and I wish to commend him for his consideration for the future generation. In the Bible, it is said, where there is no vision, the people perish. From 2015 to 2024, I have attended almost all the parliamentary sessions, save for when I was not in Mauritius. Week in, week out, I have seen how the country was going into the abyss. And there was nothing much that we could do here in Parliament. When I heard the Honourable Leader of Opposition seeking protection from you the other day, it actually tickled my funny bone. It made me laugh. He forgot what Fokir was. Not only for his constant bullying, we were prevented from asking important questions. Questions that the former government ministers were constantly bolting away from. It was common practice for the then Prime Minister to be allowed to drag his first PQ in Prime Minister's question time for 30 minutes in order for him to get away scot-free from embarrassing questions. Questions on real debt of the country, scandals in ministries, looting of national banks, mismanagement of procurement processes, non-performing parastatals, SPVs, to mention but a few, were put away with great facility. One evening in 2017 at St. Idris Goumani in Plaine Verte, in a meeting organized by the young wings of the Labour Party of Constituency Number 3, Dr. Navin Khan had asked me to speak. During my speech, I said from my experience from a civil servant, I did not prepare the speech on that day. I said from my experience as a former civil servant that damages that the MSM was causing will be very difficult to repair. And today, this is the fact. We can see it. The abyss is a reality. And we needed to come out of it together as one people, as one nation. The Honorable Minister Shakil Mohammed has just returned from Singapore, and he was questioning me about the pension system in Singapore. He was there last week. Madam Speaker, I started off my career in Singapore as an engineer by contributing 20% every month of my salary into the Central Provident Fund. And my employer was doing the same. And that's, I think the Honorable Utim was there at the material time when I was working. And that's the only pension there is there. It is fully contributory. Bearing in mind the emotional aspects here in Mauritius, there in Singapore, no pension is paid from government taxpayers' money. Call it by any name, be it pay as you earn, CSG. At the end, it's taxpayers' money, money of Mauritians. Since the presentation of the budget, I've made 3 public interventions. The first one was 6 days after on NBC TV. Last week, together with the Honorable Utim, to school students in our constituency. And last Saturday, I intervened on Radio Plus because there was someone who was talking about the CNT. So in an impromptu manner, I was questioned for about 40 minutes by Mr. Nawaz Nubucks on the pension system. I was off guard, but I replied to his question. Madam Speaker, I opened the book to him on radio. I told him that our pension is fully contributory. I even asked him, do you know how much is deducted from our salary any month? Because everybody says that MPs and ministers are paid hefty pensions at the end of their career. I told him, I opened the book, and I told him, if I add my pension, if I add my family protection scheme, if I add other social contribution, there is a total of 26,000 rupees that is deducted from my salary every month. And I'm not talking about tax. Pay is another 20,000 rupees. So that's 46,000 rupees. So I explained. So if I have been a minister in this parliament for 3 mandates, it will be about 5 million rupees that I would have contributed to my own pension fund over time. It works exactly like a private pension fund. So it's fully contributory. There's a misconception outside. And he asked me about my car facilities. I told him, you know, I'm still using Mr. Ganu's car. That is 5 years old. It has 165,000 kilometers at the odometer. It breaks down very often. My officers are telling me maybe you should consider changing that car for economic sake. And he asked me about my duty-free car. Why should it be 3 years instead of 5 years? And I gave him my own example. I said my own duty-free car is more than 4 years old. I have an Audi. It's more than 4 years old, and I will change it when the time is right. And he, an overseas mission. I told him that the Prime Minister has told us travel only if there's a need to travel. And everybody is abiding by that. So there's a misconception also people are using MPs as excuse to criticize the measures that are needed in this budget. So, well, I had to say it because I think it is important sometimes to say things. Let me move to the land transport sector, Madam Speaker. When Mr. Jean Todt came to Mauritius on invitation of the Honourable Prime Minister, he just suggested the creation of a road safety fund, for which the budget has made mention this year. I've had the chance to talk to the Minister of Financial Services, under whose ministry falls the subject of insurance, an important stakeholder for the creation of this fund. In his first public declaration after the budget presentation, I heard the former Minister of Land Transport, Alan Ganu, criticizing this innovative financing mechanism that seeks to ensure the long-term sustainability and effectiveness of our road safety initiatives. So I'm a bit baffled by his position on this. Let me remind him that under his ministerial watch, 26 traffic lights at critical locations for road safety had remained faulty for several months. We have initiated necessary actions to repair, and same will be functional very soon. In the new penalty point system, which will be online rather with the use of driving license counterparts, we shall introduce a bonus concept whereby drivers who have accumulated penalty points may, under certain conditions, have a reduction in the number of points accumulated. Also, it is envisaged that a special protocol be accorded to professional drivers for buses, taxis and good vehicles due to the nature of their job and the amount of time they spend on the roads, which make them more vulnerable actually. Furthermore, our commitment to road safety begins this year with a substantial financial allocation of 205 million rupees that will be invested to fund critical infrastructure upgrades across the country, and which will include, number one, improve road markings and signage, number two, enhanced delineation in accident-prone areas, number three, installation of additional speed calming measures, number four, upgrades to dangerous intersections, and lastly, development of safer pedestrian crossings. Before leaving the road safety subject, let me put on record my sincere thanks to the ministers and MPs of constituency number 3 and number 2 for assisting me in Plenbet yesterday in sensitizing on the limitation of the size of objects to 3 meters height during procession for the forthcoming Gun, what is the Yamse participants, and the forbidden practice of carrying electric generators on board. Now, objects during procession are limited in height to 3 meters. So the House will recall that the new regulations were applied for the Mahashivratri procession earlier this year, following which there were no accidents recorded, unlike previous years, as we all know. So we are expecting the same collaboration for Yamse this year. Madam Speaker, the nickname on social media, I see a nickname that is being given to me, Horseman. Because in my sector, the land transport, there are a lot of prices, a hike in prices. Like, for example, the increase in road taxes for all categories of vehicle and the introduction of retention fee for all and personalized registration marks for vehicle. So I will talk to them about them briefly. Let me begin with the most. But
Osman in Paris was a very important person with fantastic roads. Maybe that's what they meant.
Thank you. The most contested one, Madam Speaker, is about the personalized and registration marks for vehicles. The present all registration marks are issued from number 1 to FM 2500. and from FN to ZZ, followed by a number between 1 and 1,000. The budget measure announced will enable vehicle owners to have a wider choice as to the range of all registration marks that will henceforth go beyond FM 2501 up to FM 9999. So more variety in numbers. Similarly, numbers FN to ZZ will also be available from 1 to 9,999 in each series. This change in combination will, however, require an amendment to be brought to the definition of all registration marks in Section 2 of the Road Traffic Act. However, there have been several representations and several sometimes legitimate points put forward by those who had already paid for their numbers in the past. In order to work out what may be the most reasonable formula for this proposed budgetary measure, the number registration marks will have to be first drawn, keeping in mind the legal issues that may arise with the introduction of that fee. As regards the particular aspect, I have spoken to the Honourable Attorney General and subsequently to the Honourable Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, and the Junior Minister as well. The new management at the NLTA will work closely with the Ministry of Finance so as to expeditiously chart across the way forward in a fair, legal and reasonable manner on this budgetary measure. A thorough communication will be issued in due course. Madam Speaker, the main objective behind readjusting the prices of vehicles is firstly to address a challenge that touches the lives of countless of Mauritians. The escalating issue of road traffic congestion and also its indirect impact of those of the working class who get stuck, stressed and even delayed to work every day. I met with a representative of the Government Services Employees Association recently following a letter they had written to the Honourable Prime Minister and copied to me. Their main qualms were transportation and traffic jam related problems facing civil servants working in event and in portuaries, the same problem that applied to all Mauritians actually. Madam Speaker, the number of vehicles on our roads has increased by 46% from 2015 to 2024, reaching 722,000 vehicles as at December 2024 under the MSM regime, to the point that my friend, Mr. Khalil Elahi, had coined the following sentence: plus de voitures que des bébés qui naissent à Maurice. Indeed, last year there were a record of 35,000 new vehicles on our roads, and this government of change could not adopt a more responsible approach. Madam Speaker, more vehicles also means more road crashes and fatalities. This 46% in fleet has led to an increase of 40% in road crashes over the same period. There were nearly 40,000 of road accidents last year, a very high figure indeed. Building more roads does not necessarily improve the traffic congestion problem. The congestion con is a phenomenon that I have been talking about here in this Parliament since 2022, during the budget exercise actually, exactly 2 years ago. It simply says that more roads means more vehicles given time. The previous government has left us with 3 clear examples. The roundabouts at Eben, which I had the chance to talk to my honourable colleague, Minister of Public Infrastructure, and that of QPIP has caused more traffic jam. The Sarge Bridge, like I mentioned in Parliament before, has led to more vehicles being on the M1, and this causes traffic jam as well at the entrance of Port Louis. With more vehicles comes the difficulty in finding parking slots and sometimes disputes and road rages. Sound and air pollution are out of control. Our air quality has deteriorated from being 2nd position in the world to 6th position because of more vehicles coupled with the fact that our grid has become more polluting as it uses more coal today than during the days of Maurice Iljurab. I think the Honourable Patrick Assevaden has explained this last week. So even the electric vehicle is today more polluting than the conventional car if it uses the CB grid. The stability of the electricity grid has become a problem as well. Charging electric cars after office hours coincide with peak time electricity demand and this causes shortages in supply on the electricity grid. This is why our new fleet of 105 electric buses of the CNT, 100 from India and 5 from China, will be charged at off-grid, off-peak on the grid of the CEB at CNT depot. As regards increase in road prices, what we normally call as déclaration, it was done to keep up with cost of living since it was last reviewed some 15 years ago, during which period the country has experienced an average annual increase in inflation of 3.7% yearly, therefore make it a total over 15 years of more than 50% if compounded. The abolition of registration duty on the sale of and transfer of domestic pre-owned vehicles, however, seeks to encourage sale of cars within the country and will hopefully bring down the annual increase rate of additional vehicles on the road and all its associated problems. Let me now move to another measure, Madam Speaker. I am glad that the Honourable Minister of Finance has confirmed the financial provisions of 78 million rupees for the first time ever in a budget exercise for the fleet management system, which when implemented will bring many benefits to commuters, like real-time passenger information on smartphones, better planning of bus travel, NLTA to have real operational reports, government to pay strictly for services provided, improvement in service level through better compliance with timetable and bus releases. It will take some time because there is a procurement process to follow. This is the normal process of the ministry. For about 3 weeks now, there is a new management at the head of the NLTA with the coming back of former Commissioner Mr. Nabi Bakas and his deputy Mr. Apajala. It is only now that we can see daylight about how things were being done there. Applications for transfer of public service vehicles, taxis, public buses, contract buses were received as far back as 2020 and were left pending at the NLTA, which include 135 applications for transfer of taxi licenses, from individual to individual, from late licenses to their heirs, from heirs to full-time drivers, and succession, which have remained pending since 2020, 2021, and 2022, causing ruthlessly immense hardship to vulnerable families. 40 applications for transfer of contract car, contract bus, and road service licenses, 12 applications for petrol station service licenses, 1 application actually for a new station dates back to 2019. I have to say that things were left in the drawers, and I cannot possibly tell why, for obscure reasons. The new management at the NLTA has processed some 40 applications for registration certificate of works as full-time and part-time taxi drivers in taxis. The applicants have notified of outcome of the application. They have already been notified. So that is 3 weeks of work. Madam Speaker, I have so far replied to several parliamentary questions on poor service level provided by bus companies because of a weakened NLTA over the last 10 years, and that is at supervision level, which was very low. We have made provision for 11 management support officers at the NLTA to give assistance to the inspectorate cadre after that they have attended a crash course, so to speak, for them to be acquainted in the new role on the field as opposed to doing office work. They've been posted at major bus terminals like Yang Palak, North and South, Victoria Urban Terminal, Place Margeo, and Immigration Square. I shall ask the NLTA to review their placements as and when needed for them to continue to monitor bus services and compliance of operators with the approved timetables of operation on which they are paid through public funds up until the time the fleet management system is up and running. And then the system will become autonomous. Since we are at the NLTA, let me mention that a holistic business process re-engineering exercise will be undertaken at the NLTA in line with a revised digitalized plan. This was never budgeted by the previous government. Already we have launched an online MVL payment system together with my colleague, the Honorable Minister of ICT, Paiement Déclaration, also called Paiement Déclaration, which if everybody adheres to, will allow 550,000 vehicle owners to pay their road tax online. This is going to be the largest online platform for taxes in Mauritius, ahead of the MRA, which has a very good system, but which has a client base of 200,000. We have 550,000 potential customers going online for payment of declaration. So eventually we've done the calculations the other day, we can even go up to 577,000 vehicles. We are talking about cooperatives, farmers, and taxis. Since we are talking about taxi, the Cabinet of Ministers has last Friday taken cognizance of the appointment of a 33-year-old economist, Mr. Kai Young Tak Wang, as chairperson of the Taxi Operators Welfare Fund. He is the holder of a BSc in Economics with specialization in transport and logistic management. I hope he will bring the Taxi Operators Welfare Fund to a different level and to the satisfaction of the taxi operators community. I've spoken to Mr. Leung over the weekend and suggested to him that getting taxi drivers on MoPass and other administrative issues being cleared will go a long way to facilitate their eventual payment of their declaration online, and so can they pay their monthly contribution of 300 rupees to the fund, rather than having to go there all the time to pay. This will facilitate matters. I've also told Mr. Leung that he must endeavour to clear all those taxi drivers who are currently in very difficult situations and who are awaiting their due compensation from the Taxi Operators Welfare Fund according to law. Madam Speaker, the decentralization of the NLTA is yet another realization to be witnessed in the very near future. This initiative aims at bringing our services closer to our people while optimizing on our resources and promoting the customer-oriented approach. The proposed NLTA sub-office at Phoenix will also cater for a vehicle registration and transfer center with one-stop shop whereby both the NLTA and the Registrar General's Department will be housed under a single roof in the office space that was used before by Larsen and Toubro during the construction of the metro system. The renting out of this facility will bring non-fare revenue to Metro Express Limited, just like the forthcoming renting out of the ex-dormitories that Larsen and Toubro was using for its 1,050 workers as Cité Russier during construction. We are working together on this to provide a large-scale facility for foreign workers to be housed there. There was a proposal to have a quarantine facility there, but the Honourable Minister of Agro-Industry has agreed not to proceed with this. So we are now awaiting clearance from the Ministry of... Yeah, good friend, yeah. We are now awaiting clearance from the Ministry of Lands. The renting of this facility will bring non-fare revenue to Metro Express Limited, just like the forthcoming renting out of the ex-dormitories, like I said just now. The new NLTA facilities at Phoenix and in the north and in smaller offices at Victoria Urban Terminal will alleviate the customers in the nearby regions and those of the south, such that they would not require to travel to Port Louis to undertake transfer of ownership and registration of their vehicle. A source of complaints many at times we've seen on the social media. Madam Speaker, the bridge to the future cannot be conceived without a clear vision for a modern and sustainable transport system. This can be related to Metro Express Limited. Over the last few months, since I've become minister, we've worked hard to improve its finances and services. Since Metro Express Limited has been paid a total of 70.1 million rupees by Alliance Media for advertising along its properties. And here I have to thank the Honourable Stephanie Archil for questions that she had put in Parliament. So Alliance Media has paid us 70 million rupees following your question. For several years, until I became minister, that company had paid 19.9 million rupees. This is what Metro Express kept telling me. The previous administration was very tolerant towards non-payment, and one can only wonder why. The previous administration did not do its level best for the company. That is why the deficit is 300 million rupees. To improve further the financial situation, we have closed down useless offices in Eben for which high rental was being paid. We have added 2 idling trains at peak time to better service commuters and to enhance income, we have embarked on the aggressive campaign to pas payer, to tasser, to lower fare evasion. As I had mentioned in my reply to the Honourable Anquetil last Tuesday, Parliament question on security services, the Board of Metro Express Limited has met on Saturday morning and has decided the following: to terminate the contract of Edmond Securities, to seek police assistance and recruit another security company, to initiate campaign so as to go cashless as from January 2026. So please, you all buy your me cards. I am confident that the annual deficit of 300 million rupees will be lowered this year. I am confident that it can be further lowered if we manage to recruit a good CEO through the recruitment process that we have embarked on, especially non-fare revenue potential that the facilities at Phoenix and Cité Richelieu can offer to the company. Madam Speaker, the National Transport Corporation is at a crossroad towards sustainable public transportation and the pressing challenges facing the national bus service. I always look at my friend Mr. Jagannath when I talk about the NTC. We had embarked on a recruitment process for a general manager, but same has not been successful as the panel chaired by the senior chief executive of my ministry, did not find the appropriate candidate. I shall brief the Cabinet of Ministers next Friday, hopefully, and a decision taken accordingly. The government of Mauritius has taken a decisive step towards modernizing our public transport system with 105 electric buses this year. I wish to inform the House that 10 electric buses out of 100 donated by the government of India and another 5 donated by the People's Republic of China are already in Mauritius. The remaining 90 electric buses from India will be shipped in 3 batches of 30 during the months of October to December 2025. Meanwhile, the CNT is pressing up with the installation of charging facilities as per established roadmap. We are monitoring closely its prompt implementation, and we are watchful of any mishaps or sabotage that could potentially happen in this very hostile environment left behind by the previous administration. The whole country knows how on one particular Monday morning, on a busy school day, 2 CNT buses caught fire and were burned completely. We are leaving no stones unturned by a thorough rotating policy to cater for all eventualities. Meanwhile, we are eagerly awaiting for the findings of the Financial Crime Commission inquiry on fake spare parts that were sold for the price of original ones, like as narrated to me by my good friend, Honorable Jagannath, bought for genuine spare parts. Fake parts bought for the price of genuine spare parts. And I hope one day FCC can talk to him, because he has all the details that he can give to facilitate this inquiry. This daylight robbery has caused a lot of damage, and I dare say beyond repair, to the NTC. We remain convinced that the previous administration, the daylight robbers, did not undertake audited accounts for all their years in office, for one simple reason: to be able to strip down the NTC. I feel very sad and sorry for all those hardworking people of the NTC. Today, even their pension fund is at stake. We are going to be united on this with the employees and return the glory days back to the NTC. Having said so, a comprehensive review of the NTC's financial model is underway to ensure long-term viability without overburdening taxpayers. Further expanding on the modernization of our bus fleet, Madam Speaker, bus modernization scheme would be optimized to fully support renewal of bus fleet. A sum of 100 million rupees per year is earmarked under the item Bus Modernization Scheme for the next 3 years to provide all bus operators serving along bus routes with financial assistance that will enable them to renew their buses. A financial support of 1 million is provided for the acquisition of a semi-low flow bus, while 700,000 rupees for a high flow bus. However, it has been observed that bus operators were reluctant to acquire semi-low flow buses as they faced numerous problems with this specific type of bus, including recurrent breakdowns and some even catching fire. We cannot continue putting the lives of our commuters in danger. Thus, my ministry will revamp the bus modernization scheme to support the renewal of the bus fleet, to increase the number of buses in operation, as well as to contribute to reducing the transport problems presently being experienced along many routes. In the same vein, we will also review the age limit of public buses. As we embark to re-engineer on public transport system to offer better service and comfort to commuters, there is an urgent need to safeguard the financial sustainability of the public transport sector. The newly set up Road Transport Advisory Board last Friday by Cabinet will be tasked to undertake this important exercise. Madam Speaker, to conclude, the measures initiated for implementation in this budget exercise are visionary measures for the working generation and the young people. It is a budget of sustainability compared to the Ponzi-like budgets of the previous government, where they did not seem to have any tomorrow. They were giving X to the population and stealing elephants through the back door. And yet, you could see them calling out shamelessly on the streets only 2 days ago. This is the minimum of shamelessness. I think the Honorable Assia had used the word sharam. This is besharam.
Translate, please.
Besharam means shameless. Today, we are facing the impending danger and existential threat of a country in financial crisis, facing a dangerous global economy worsened by the war between Israel and Iran, and now with the USA directly involved in it, which will bring major economic shock to the world. This government is doing its level best to turn the situation around for our own sake and for the sake of the population. My very last word, Madam Speaker, is for the people of my constituency, number 2. I never forget the trust they've put in me. It has been the same for the last 10 years and will continue to be the same as long as I'm standing here. In my actions, I also have them in mind. I thank you all for your attention.
I suspend the sitting for 1.5 hours. We come back at 2:30.